Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Between Two Shirts. It's been ages. Let's just say it's like always, every time we're in lockdown, we record an episode. It's like we have too much time on our hands. Paul, how are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, it is. It's very funny how that works. I feel like every time we get locked down, we get a bit more free time, and we do jump back on Hangouts or Zoom or something like that.
It's almost like that song, I get locked down and I get up again. It's like
Chumbawamba.
I get locked
Yes.
down, I podcast once again.
Yeah, I think we need some Chumbawamba influence in our intro, maybe.
Definitely. I have totally forgot the name of that artist, but it's yeah, we're back into those moments. I look, I don't mind having a bit of free time and catching up on things. I think the biggest problem with a lot of downtime for me is looking at football jerseys. I spent a lot of time today just going on my phone. It's a bad habit. I really need to minimize the time usage on my phone. But what are you getting up to these days as much?
No, I think that's a great point because, what do you do when you've got free time? You do the things you want to do, right? And that's what I found. Mate, I'm in exactly the same boat. I found myself looking for new kits, not even for, not for PFC, just for a personal gain because I want to bolster my own collection a little bit.
Oh, look, I did do a good deed today. Made the wife happy. I cleaned the entire fridge. That's probably one of my favorite things to do. Like just inside out the fridge and just restore everything. Have you ever done one of those?
Yeah. Oh man, there's nothing better. So it's almost like therapeutic. Yeah, I think we did our pantry a while back, and we've got like a butler's pantry kind of scenario. And yeah, it was definitely a nightmare, that's for sure. So it was good to get that out of the way.
Talking about fridges, the Euros recently finished, and let's just say one of the biggest sort of units scored one of the best penalties in like football that I've ever seen. Smashed the
Yeah,
camera. I feel sorry for
nice.
whoever the technician was to fix that, but we won't talk too much about the last couple of tournaments that we've seen go by. We'll just quickly touch on basis on some of the topics because we haven't really spoken about it. So yeah, anything you want to say about the Euros?
Oh, look, I'm absolutely stoked with how it eventuated and how Italy sort of unfolded throughout the tournament.
Nah, you're wearing Italian jerseys just because you like it.
Yeah, 100%. No, mate. I can't be happier as a Italian background Australian. I think it's perfect for us. I think as a tournament overall, it was really cool. It was really good, really interesting. Actually, the whole dilemma with Denmark early on, and then them carrying on all the way through to the semis was an amazing effort, and they could have even potentially made it through to the final if it wasn't subject to that penalty call. How about yourself? What was your opinion on the final? Obviously, it's a bit more one-sided for me, so I was really happy about it. But being an individual, what was your view on it?
I think any tournament for me as a neutral has always been amazing when the Socceroos don't play in sort of the Euros. But when it comes to the World Cup, Socceroos has always been my team. But to have my own background like Macedonia in the tournament was exciting. To able to connect with many people around the world that I've never been able to connect with was the best part. Having the representation of like Goran Pandev and some of the young kids, and it was always amazing. And my question now is to EA Sports: why isn't there a Macedonia team in FIFA now? It's surely we could have had the team by now. At least 15 of the players playing on the game.
I remember one of the World Cup. You know how they normally do like a World Cup edition of
Yeah,
FIFA. I remember there was one. It could have even been the last one where there was teams that were in the tournament that weren't
yeah.
in the
They
game.
had
Which,
Macedonia years ago.
yeah, correct. Which is, I think that's part and parcel. Like, I guess if for example China qualifies, there's no way China's going to be in it because of the ties that they've got with their own gaming
Yeah,
manufacturers
Konami and
from their
stuff.
country. Yeah, correct. So yeah, I guess that's always going to happen, and
There's
that's
always
just
those
going to
legal
have to be.
issues, which I totally understand, but it is what it is. I think the Euros was amazing. I think one of the best things for me was just seeing like a lot of cultures mixed together. I really love seeing, I think from an Australian point of view, like Optus showing a lot of the diversity with David Davutovic going to a lot of those places. And then I'm still kicking myself for not going to Lygon Street and witnessing, Italy lift a cup. But like, yeah, I think that was the best thing about this tournament was just a lot of people just getting together like me with a few of my friends, Macedonian background, watching the games.
Yeah, it is. It was really nice. I think that was actually one thing I noticed during the Russia World Cup. I was at a local shopping center, and they had like a sports bar there, and there was a big group of Iranian fans, and I was really surprised to think it's they're a minority within Australia. Obviously, there's still like quite a few of them, but the fact that they congregated together to watch the game was amazing.
Mm.
And obviously seeing that from an Italian perspective on Lygon Street, which is obviously tenfold because the Italian community here is huge. Um, I think I love how football brings people together that way. And I wish that we had that on a regular basis, even on like a local club perspective.
Yeah, I think that's the best part about being in Australia. We're so sort of celebratory, or we celebrate our diversity, and that's the best part. And I enjoyed, going down to the shops wearing my Macedonian jersey. People questioning what kind of club that was, and I was like, it's Macedonia. So that was the best part. I kind of wish I had a Pundev top, but it's really hard to find anything with Pundev these days.
Yeah, it is, especially because that Inter shirt alone would be it's worth a bomb purely because of the Champions League success associated with it. So it's nuts.
It was easy for me to wear Italian. I just wore one of my many Inter Milan jerseys, and I walked down the street of Lycon, and everyone was celebrating. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Italian now for like a couple of minutes."
You know what? Actually, speaking of the Euros, that is one thing I did notice, and I feel like maybe I haven't noticed this much before in previous tournaments, but more fans wearing their club's colours rather than their countries. And I thought that was interesting because obviously on a club level, there's such fierce rivalries. And then at an international level, you sort of all congregate as one.
Yeah.
But, looking through more so in the final, I noticed a lot of like Italian fans wearing Inter shirts. And I get that they've won the Scudetto this year, but just still, I was still shocked by it. I thought, this is not that place. Considering, you can't go sit in an opposing team's end in the other team's shirt and without getting abused.
Yeah. Actually, funny you said that. A lot of Italians in Australia wear Juventus jerseys a lot more to celebrate their Italian heritage than I've ever seen them wear like Inter Milan or AC Milan. I rarely see Inter Milan across the Italian community in Australia. It's always Juventus. It's either Juventus or Roma.
I thought, you know what? I actually find that really interesting because obviously, I look at it from a sales perspective too. So kits that I've sold over the last 12 months, Juve out of all of the Italian clubs is probably the slowest. All of the bigger Italian clubs. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I don't know, without having a tie to Del Piero or...
Do you reckon it's the new culture, like the sort of new their parents are probably in love with the generation of Zidane and all that. And then now it's sort of become a bit more sort of showman and everyone's more in love with Inter Milan because, recent success and the players.
I actually think it's that in-between period. So I think guys, the collectors that are about our age were probably between the ages of, say, 10 and 20 when AC Milan was really successful.
Yeah.
And so you've got that early period of the early 2000s where Milan was amazing and they were a powerhouse. I think they seem to be like the most popular Italian club from a vintage shirt kind of perspective. So I find that really interesting that, you see these now more of these Juventus shirts are popping up. Probably because mum and dad had them from 20 years ago.
So with that terminology and thought behind, do we think that Man City kits will be selling a lot in a couple of years' time when the kids of like say between the ages of 8 and 13 now, when they get adult money, when they're in their 20s, they start buying jerseys from their generation as kids watching the TV right now?
I have no doubt. I think, we mentioned that Pandev Inter shirt just before. I think that's a perfect example. That's 10 years old. That's 10 years old, and that shirt is extremely rare.
Oh, we should definitely do a topic on that. I like this idea, 10-year shirts. So shirts from 10 years ago. So for example, we're 30 this year. That would have been us 20. So 20 wasn't a bad age, but like when it comes to adult money, we spent more money on going out clubbing and stuff. But oh man, that's actually a really good thought. I like that. I will move on to the Copa America where we got to see Messi finally lift the trophy. Funny enough, though, everyone forgot that Angel Di Maria scored that winner, and
what a finish. Man, look, he an amazing player, and he's had an up and down career, obviously, at all the big clubs, but I think at the end of the day you have to appreciate how good Di Maria is. The ball and the control on that goal was insane. I think it was DePaul that played that pass. Or was it
from
Messi?
memory? It was a couple of days ago. I think it was from the middle to the wide. Yeah, it was an amazing goal. I watched it live with Zari, of course, and everyone know Zari is a 4-month baby. And let's just say she got to witness Messi lift his first trophy. But I think the funny thing is, like, while having the distractions, I too forgot that Di Maria scored the goal, and I was too busy celebrating Messi's finally like achieving something. And I think the press did as well. I feel like the press had this, superstitious style like baby in the hands where they're like, shit, Angel Di Maria didn't actually score this goal, but Messi, it's all about Messi,
It's funny that because I guess with all these iconic moments in sport, there is obviously these iconic goals. but now this copper is always going to be associated with Messi finally winning.
Yeah.
Right? And there's iconic moments in football that people always forget about, like Bresciano scoring against Brazil, for example, right? Like we remember getting through, like that. Everyone talks about
The
John
Japan game.
Aloisi, Tim Cahill, scoring those goals, right? And it's iconic, but no one remembers that Bresciano goal. No one remembers the Craig Moore penalty, like stuff like that.
But no one forgets the Lucas Neal moment.
Correct. Yeah, and from an Italian perspective, no one lets that bloody go. But okay.
Oh man. But like even that game, like we all forget that, Neymar also wanted to win something. He's had a few injuries over the time. He missed out on the Champions League final. Like he hasn't had, like when you think about the six most successful players, like Messi, the fact that he's finally got something with the Argentinian team is just this sort of huge weight lifted off his chest now.
Yeah, hugely, especially after so many failed attempts. Like they had an obscene amount. I think it was like close to 5 finals across. I'm not sure how many years it was, but there was definitely a World Cup final in there. I think that was 2014. And then there was at least, yeah, correct, yeah. And then there was, I think, 3 coppers at a minimum. So that's a lot to lose. Like in the final, that's not, you're not getting bowed out early days. You're losing in the last game of the tournament.
100%. And look, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Argentina's gonna win it for a while. I don't think they have a strong squad to come up against someone like the rising power of Italy, even the English squad. I just feel like Argentina's. They're really. I think South American football at the moment. I'm not sort of convinced as maybe the early 2000s when we had that sort of Korea Japan sort of era of Brazilians and South Americans players running around. So. I kind of feel like we may be seeing a change of tide in a couple of years, but I still think it's powerful in the Euros, in the Europe sort of continent.
I think if Italy is anything to go by in terms of comparing powerhouse nations, I don't think it takes long to turn around high quality players.
Yeah.
They have such a high volume; it's just a matter of them being found out. So I guess we could say you look at Argentina in 2006, their squad was obscene. It was stupid. Zanetti, Cambiaso, Crespo. Yeah. Messi is a young player, like coming off the bench. Like
we're slowly seeing that come back now.
Yeah, and I think it's just I guess we're looking at this from more of an aging perspective too, right? Like we're looking at as Messi gets older, Messi's heading towards retirement now. So does that weaken the Argentina squad, or does it now allow them to be a more balanced team? Possibly both. Like it may be that it's a big loss. Obviously, it will be a big loss regardless. But it will allow some younger players and maybe potentially a more balanced squad to step up.
Yeah, and look, I think when we come talking about names and stuff, I think we've got Aguero, we've got Di Maria, we've got Messi, all potentially a couple of years left in their sort of international careers. We did see Messi retire previously and come back now after he had a bit of a falling out. But I think as Argentina as a country to finally win something with Messi alongside their ranks was just a glorious time for them to celebrate. I think everyone wanted Messi to sort of have that moment. And I think the big debate between Messi and Ronaldo is going to be there for years and years. Even after they retire, who knows whichever one becomes a coach. But I think finally, we can all just have to say that I personally don't compare them. I know you probably will say one's better than the other, but I can't compare them. I just think when we have 2 footballers like that, I love it. I have this debate with a lot of people. I don't compare Pele or Maradona because just 2 different sort of generations and football styles. But what are your thoughts on this?
I think now? Literally the last thing you said hit the nail on the head. For me, it's a style, right? So it's a type of player, and it's a player that you can resonate with. It's a player that you can empathize with. You want to be that sort of player. Yeah. So, and that's why for me, every time someone's like, "Who do you like better?" I always lean towards Messi because I prefer his style of play.
Yeah,
it is undeniable how successful and how capable they both are. So whether one's better than the other, that's always going to be up for debate.
We're selling a debate between us right now. So like. Personally, if I had the physique and the mentality and even the determination as an athlete, if I had to base my sort of style on, it definitely would be on Ronaldo.
Really?
See, I don't know. See, I'm not comparing. I'm not saying he's better than Messi. I'm not saying Messi's better than Ronaldo. I personally would love to have sort of the physique of Ronaldo. I feel like would. But like, that's what I mean. Like Messi seems like he loves football, while Ronaldo seems like he loves playing the game. Like
He's a competitive
there's a
machine.
massive difference between that because I feel like Messi is the kid that goes into school and studies and goes home and studies and does well, while
Mhm.
Ronaldo is almost like just like how did he get that, so well on the day? No one watches him, work hard outside, but on the day, like he'll put his
Yeah,
blood, sweat, and tears. And it's like
yeah,
they both have the end, both same end game, but it's like two different types of what would you call it? Like formulas to get to that point.
yeah. Correct. I wonder. Like, this is what one thing that I always find really interesting. I wonder if you remove. This is going to be obviously impossible. You remove all physical capabilities, right? You remove them from all that excessive training, all that type of thing that makes them an athlete, and you bring them back to just natural skill, natural ability. So you're left with basically whatever they can think of and what do they come up with. And I wonder if that makes them on a different level. Like, is Ronaldo a much more simplistic player without that athletic capability? Obviously, Messi, I think for me is still really athletic. You can't deny that. But I think it's something that's going to be it's going to be talked about for a long time, and which player is going to be
100%.
better.
They're both going to be, judged under the microscope for many generations. I think when we look at footballers, and every generation brings a different type of footballer. Like I always say with my brother and my dad, both being goalkeepers, I look at them and I say, we always speak about it, but the ever changing sort of, the stature, the sort of size, the athletic sort of build on a goalkeeper has changed over years. Like if
Mm.
we look back at the early 80s, look at goalkeepers of that time, even early 90s, they don't look as athletic as they do now. But we look at like even like championship or just lower league clubs, sort of in the spectrum of football, sort of leagues now. Goalkeepers look a lot more sort of athletic than they did
Oh
20
yeah,
years ago, 30 years ago max. So like as the game progresses, we're going to see a lot more players like Ronaldo, which is like your new Erling Haalands, who
yeah.
show that physique and domination in the air and domination physique, the awkward run that we all see on TikToks. But then we see a lot of players like Messi, where we've got sort of more agile players who love to run and be a bit more free. Is there any one that you can see? Because look, every generation we get two amazing footballers. Yeah. So we've got Messi and Ronaldo right now. What are your two that you think? Like Neymar, unfortunately, was just like the third, like the awkward third person on a date. Yeah. He's the third wheel.
The third wheel, yeah, yeah.
But who's the next generation? Who do you think?
Like, it's hard to go past Mbappe, right? I think that's inevitable, and I think
Still a kid.
yeah, it's crazy that he's still a kid. Um, and I know it's always hard to include keepers in this debate because they're always overlooked. You can't go past Donnarumma. The success that he's had and the experience that he's gained, all at the age of 22, is obscene. Like that is absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like you leave out. I'm trying to think outside of Haaland and Mbappe. Pedri had an amazing Euro, and I think he's probably potential to be up there. But I'm saying that because I'm leaning towards more players, like I mentioned before, that I like that style of play. I love that relaxed, silky type of midfielder.
Yeah.
Um, I think, for me, I'd have to go with someone like that. I want to see another David Silva. I want to see another Xavi, Iniesta, Pirlo, that kind of midfielder. For me, that's what excites me when I watch football. When I see someone unpick a game with their brain and then, and dominate with their feet. I think there's nothing better. How about you? What's your go? Because I know your taste in players is very different to mine.
It's so different because when we look at football, like even us neutrals out there that really look at football from a different point of view, and then you get the sort of professional, pundits that say these things. As someone who loves football and watches it, like we always compare, oh, this is the new Beckham, this is the new Ronaldo. So for me, it's not like I don't look at these new athletes as the new replacement of that position, but I feel like every generation we fall in love with two people that have different sort of, again, this is where I talk about two different players that show two different types of footballers out
Yeah.
there. We've got the Haalands and we've got the Mbappes. One is so dominant and the other one is so free flowing. So one we fall in love with because we watch his feet, and the other one we fall in love with because we watch their sort of determination. And when they celebrate, it's just like, fuck, I want to be that person. And I think that's why Haaland and Mbappe are probably prone. Oh, there we go. Your camera died again. Those two players, the types of footballers they're always going to go for. I love Donnarumma. Great shout. I think he is going to be someone like Buffon, where he's going to play to the end of his lifetime and just keep going, keep going. But there's not many other footballers, I think, that at this current time are going to live to the hype that these two are. I think there might be a third wheeler. I'm just not sure who exactly will be the new Neymar type of per se of the replacement of that sort of one that was so close, but yet so far. We don't really have many creative footballers these days. Like I do miss the era of Ronaldinho, that sort of, Jogo Benito. I miss that. I do miss that sort of early 2000s free flowing Brazilian sort of, fun.
It was beautiful to watch. It was definitely something different that they produced at that time. And I don't know how they made that click for 2002 and 2006 when they had this beautiful style of football to watch. I don't know. Yeah, I would love to see that again. I know when we went to Japan, I got excited about Ricky Puig, and I don't know. I know obviously he's still at Barcelona, but is he going to transcend into that player that we thought he might transcend into? I don't know.
That's what I was talking about when we fall in love with footballers these days. Like, we've got, I have a bit of a mental blank now, but what's his name? Virgil van Dijk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we look at defenders now, like the fact that we're falling in love with players like that now, I don't know, would players like Tony Adams today be a lot more sort of appreciated? Vidic and Ferdinand had this amazing partnership that a lot of people loved them, but they just never, as a defender, it's just not romantic enough to be your Mbappes and Haalands or your Maradonas and Pelés or your Messis and Ronaldos. You get what I'm trying to say? Like it's always going to be the forwards.
I think defenders always get bypassed until they retire. They get the accolades after. Like I think you look at, I think you hit the nail on the head with like saying, like Ferdinand. I'm thinking of like John Terry. To be honest, and as successful as he was, I still think Maldini was almost underrated. I know he's amazing. I think people only appreciated him more after he retired because of how good he was.
Yeah.
Undeniably good. He's like, Philip Lahm, right? Philip Lahm, you knew week in, week out, you were getting like an 8 out of 10 minimum. And obviously those weeks where you get more. But I think it was the same kind of scenario with Maldini, but I think that appreciation with Maldini just leveled up once he retired.
100%. And look, now that we're talking about City sort of players and stuff like this, I really want to say green kits are not going to be allowed next season. So as of 21-22, is it? Yeah. And that's a joke. That's actually a joke. I've got some kits that I was looking at today. NSS posted on their stories. So I don't know if you have it, but I want to quickly jump onto it. Some teams that have had green. So Juventus had green. We've got Bologna. We've got Lazio had green. Napoli had green. And then Inter Milan, of course, had the famous green and yellow kit. So, well, that's a big call.
Yeah, that's huge. I could even remember, I guess for one, Sassuolo is a green kit. Like their home kit is a green shirt, which is crazy. And then I remember I think a more recent one. I think Milan. I think Milan had one. I think around the time Honda was there. Which is like, this is crazy. There's nothing more annoying in FIFA when you play against someone that picks a team with a green kit. You can't see them against the grass. But at the same time, I don't know. Is it really that bad for the pitch? Like from a viewing perspective, is it harder for the referees? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I still think that there's ways to get around that. I don't think that's too big of a problem. Surely, like even a simple like outline on the green kit as a general standard would be fine. But what a weird rule to implement.
It's a bit of a confusing one when you think about the greens on the Italian flag, and then you think about like the color representing a football jersey for a club like Sassuolo, like for green and black. But I don't know. Like I saw Hibbs post a photo where they're like playing in the Serie A, and then it's like just the missing shirt.
Oh, it's funny.
It's a bit of a piss take.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a piss take. I did see, and I don't know if it was an Olympics kit or if it was another, I want to say American League. I don't think that it was MLS, but it was like a military type of uniform, but for a football shirt. And so it was camo. Which is obviously makes it a little bit.
Yeah, they have their holiday kit, so they got a new kit like every couple of months where every team has that they wear as a warm up kit. But the camo kit, that's similar to what Napoli had Napoli or Lazio had their camo. So I remember Hamšík was wearing it, I think.
Well, I wonder if that would fly. That probably wouldn't pass then.
No, definitely won't play. Look, and that's the thing. Like green kits, like a lot of keepers usually wear green because that's the neutral between two teams, like say Inter and Roma. So yeah, Inter and Roma. Like, what's keepers going to wear now? They got many other colors, of course, yellow and pink, but
Yeah.
like green. Like, what's the referee going to wear? Like, it's going to be a bit of an odd one for sometimes trying to find that neutral kit. You know?
Yeah, I guess, hey, look, the only thing that this is going to do is give us more variety in terms of what kits we're getting released, and maybe something a little bit more crazy too. Like, we're seeing some pretty out there designs come through. Um, I know from a keeper sense, the 90s were epic for colors. So hey, maybe we can get something back on that. That would be pretty sick.
Yeah, look, I'm really excited for that. I think the Serie A is going to be exciting this season. There's a few signings happening over at AC Milan with Giroud moving, or he announced that he left Chelsea this morning. So
Yeah.
see what happens there.
Yeah, big signing. It's going to be sad to see him go. Obviously, Chelsea supporter. So I think it's Sorry, man. I think my internet just dropped for a sec.
No, you're fine. You're
Um,
still there.
yeah, so I think it's going to be sad to see him leave Chelsea. I think he's been a good servant. He's been an amazing Premier League player. Considering his Arsenal spell as well. And at times during his spell at Chelsea, he really was the one that got us out of trouble. So sad to see him go. I think 2 mil for a 30-year-old, a 34-year-old is still good money. I think I wish him all the best.
There's a few other signings happening at AC Milan. A lot of people are talking about them. The one I'm always confused about and why he left AC to go to Inter, of course, is the Turkish international. I'm going to butcher his surname, but Chanoglu.
Yep.
Chanoglu.
Yeah. I think you're close.
That's
Somewhere
I
along the
don't
lines.
know why. Like, just like Inter, of course, we've got a new coach now, but like, it's just why are we always signing players that are almost at the end of their sort of career per se, like just the last sort of bringing of their career, like sort of offering to
Interesting one
clubs.
because he was brilliant for Milan early in the season. I think then he got injured. I'm not sure what the injury was. It was leg related. Came back. It was okay once he came back. And then for Turkey was terrible. Turkey obviously bowed out in straight sets. I don't think he had a good game at all. When you look at, I think Macedonia is a perfect example, right? Like Pandev stepped up to the plate. He had retired, come back from retirement, and stepped up to the plate. And then you've
Yeah.
got Çalhanoğlu, who's essentially in his prime, and not putting it together for his national team, and then gaining a transfer to the league, the league winners. Crazy. I think that's a huge move, but I don't know. I guess Inter does have a bit of an aging squad. Are they trying to plug some holes? Probably.
We did see Messi sign the 5-year deal back at Barcelona. I don't know if it's official yet, but I was listening to a few podcasts this week, and there are talks that the reason why he signed a 5-year deal because, of course, he can extend that contract that he's owed money for over the 5 different sort of years that he's there. So I think it's like a 2-year contract, but
Wow.
instead of saying it's a big money, it's sort of spread out over 5, so it looks less. So even though to some people it might look like he's not earning enough, he's spreading over 5 years. So even if he gets sold at the second year or moves on the second year, he still gets paid the next 3 years of his contract.
I think that's smart from a footballing career sense, right? They don't. It's not like every other 9 to 5 or standard career job where you work until you're 50, 60, 70. He's mid-30s now, and he's basically nearing the closure of his career, which means essentially no more money.
I think he ends his contract when he's like just 40, 41.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. So I guess worst case, if he transfers or if he stops playing, I'm assuming that contract is still due to be paid out. So there's at least some sort of financial security in that. And I know if people are probably gonna think, but he's getting paid squillions now. What's the difference? What does it mean to him? But I guess you got to try and look after your hip pocket at some time, right?
What are your thoughts on Harry Kane or Grealish? Are they going to go City or where they're going to end up?
I don't think Harry Kane will move. I think he's suited to the Premier League. If he does move, where's he going to go? Chelsea's loaded up top. I think they're talking about Haaland. I think that whole potential move just got shut down as well by some German representatives. City, maybe now that Aguero's gone, it might be a good shoe to fill. I don't know. I really don't see him moving. Grealish, I think, needs to move. I think he's at that point in his career where he's done well for Villa, and I think for him to transcend into the player that he deserves to be, he needs to be somewhere massive. Nothing against Villa. Villa's a huge club with a huge supporter base.
100%.
But I think he needs to be at that top level, especially coming into a World Cup year.
I feel like the top four teams, and when we say top four, of course, it's the traditional top four. It's the Liverpool, Arsenal, United, and City. I was going to forget one, wasn't I? London and Chelsea,
Yeah,
five.
no worries.
And
No worries. I think the Spurs fans might be a little bit salty at you after that one.
yeah, all right, we'll add five in there. And of course, we've got Leicester these days. But like when we
Yeah,
talk
of
about the
course.
traditional ones for many years, I feel like they're all pretty much stacked apart from Spurs for players like Grealish. I think wherever he goes, I just don't know if he can fill in any spots. Like there's just, or like we got United where we got players like Danny Van de Beek just sitting on the bench doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then we look at Chelsea and we've got players like Mason Mount basically loving life now. You're loaning out young players like Billy Gilmore to move on to get more game time. So I don't know, bringing in players like Grealish would just take up spots. And then you look at Arsenal who would need more players, but I just feel like they're just not the right place for him. And then, you know, even Liverpool, there are talks now of Barella moving to Liverpool. So there's just I feel like Liverpool's that club that just signs everyone that's like really hot on the market at the time.
Yeah, I
What's
think
gonna happen to Minamino? Like just signed him.
well, yeah. I think look, Grealish. I think, like you mentioned, Chelsea and United. I think are out of the question. I think there's too much squad depth in the midfield and or in the areas that he can play. Because obviously, I know he can push out wide as well. I don't know. City. I think is just way too stacked. I don't think they would go for Grealish unless they need that English quota. If that's even a thing anymore. I don't know. I don't even know what that was.
The whole Brexit thing with players. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
They might defeat that in.
Arsenal potentially. I don't know. I think that could be an interesting move. I think that might be something that, you know, if they play their cards right, they sign, say, 3 or 4 players in the right areas, Grealish might actually suit their system really nicely.
Again, like Arsenal's that club that's still on the mend to fix things up. But I think even Harry Kane, like, again, I know I said before, I don't really compare players to become new versions of the past, certain athletes. Like when I think of Shearer, like that big move that he did from Blackburn to Newcastle, like that of its era was a massive move and he had opportunities to go wherever he wants. You know, we see players like Gary Lineker play across Europe. So even the thought of Harry Kane moving overseas away from the Premier League isn't a scary thought. But like when you think about it, like again, Gary Lineker really enjoyed life. Gaza enjoyed life across abroad. But like Harry Kane moving away from the Premier League would be a really weird sight for me. I think I just don't see him unless he goes to somewhere like Madrid. But I just don't know. If he goes in the Premier League, it's going to be really odd for me. I've never thought of Harry Kane apart from Spurs, you know?
Yeah, it's funny to have that thought outside of Spurs, but you know what? I would like to see it abroad. I think a Real Madrid would be amazing. I think it would be probably a masterstroke from a marketing perspective. I think, you know, if you're looking at it from a shirt sales kind of thing, you know, it's no Beckham, it's no Ronaldo for Real, but I think it's that English hype that he'll gain, that he'll give Real, which I feel like, you know,
Michael Owen.
Real, maybe not so much Michael Owen, but I think Real have lost a bit of that in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Good
segue.
I think the departure of Ronaldo, you know, obviously aids to that. But, you know, you talk about the Madrid squad and there's a lot of really good players. But, you know, you step past Cruz and Modric and a lot of the guys in that squad aren't that well known compared to, you know, some of the high profile players in the Premier League.
The Galacticos no more, basically. Like they bought players like Eden Hazard, and the thought of the Galacticos coming back was on the cards. Like people were saying they're going to sign this, they're going to sign that, but we always forget that Barcelona's in a lot of debt, and when we think about Real Madrid, like they don't really have the stacked team squads and stuff like that like they used to have. No. But one team that is showing signs that they're really stacking up is PSG. So when we talk about different generations and how time goes and how squads and everything changes and players, you know, fill in different voids. PSG signing players left, right, and center at the moment. Donnarumma, Sergio Ramos, Wijnaldum,
Hakimi. It's ridiculous. I saw a starting lineup for them the other day based on all their new signings plus a few of their current squad, and it is insane. Like, you know, you throw in an informed variety after being injured for majority or for a big chunk of the season, coming into this, you know, Euro having a great tournament, and then you throw him into that squad too. Man, they look dangerous. That looks Absolutely crazy. I think one thing, and I don't know how, there was a time at PSG where they had Lavezzi, Cavani. There was a few, the squad was great. It was pretty good back then. I
Yeah.
think that was probably like 2007, 8 or something. And that squad was nuts and it had heaps of depth, right? Like they had Draxler coming off the bench and he was young and firing, and it was pretty cool. I think I think this squad could maybe be that one that gets PSG all the way through the Champions League.
Yeah. 100%. I'm just looking at a quick few transfers. I'm going to try and see if this works. But some transfers that have happened. Oh, there you go. Giroud's transfer to Milan is official, 6.5 million.
Oh,
Uh,
6.5. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Australian. So forgive me if any international listeners. Some other transfers. Let me see anything that stands out on while I scroll. Is there anything you want to say while I quickly scroll down this list?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, from an Aussie perspective, we saw Jackson Irvine leave and go to
St.
St.
Pauli,
Pauli. Yeah, which is great,
massive.
great for the club that I actually play for because I think they reap some sort of reward every time he transfers,
Oh, really?
which is great because which is this is a fun fact for you. That's actually one thing I do like, and I don't know how well. I don't know how much money that junior clubs do get or nominated clubs, but I think it's great that on a transfer perspective there is grassroots teams making some sort of fee out of the pro players that make it.
Yeah.
Um, one thing I wouldn't mind talking about today is that gap between the big six or the big four and the rest of the clubs. I feel like now more so, especially looking at last season, those gaps between the teams that seem to be smashing the league are getting closer and closer. I think PSG are flexing that muscle to try and regain after obviously not winning the league this year. Um, but you look at Juventus obviously dropping the title for the first time in, was it 11 years or something? Inter stepping back up. Milan look like they're rebuilding. You've got a strong Atalanta squad that's been there for a few years. Looking back into France, obviously like Lille. There's a few. There's so many squads that are there or thereabouts now. What's your take? Do you think these big six will just financially flex their way through to victory again, or do you think
It's
that mid-table side will
funny.
come back?
I was researching one of the kits I'm doing a review on. I think the Bayern Munich third shirt or second away shirt, the black. And I didn't realize, but Bayern Munich's won it 11 years in a row. And I think to myself, Bundesliga, wow. Like we always forget about the Bundesliga. Everyone says PSG's in the Farmers League, yeah.
Mm.
But Lille, the young squad of Lille won the league. We've got this amazing squad that just did amazing opportunity and taking the limelight off PSG. PSG being in the finals and stuff, and sort of just going to all the way and then not really winning anything once again.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bundesliga is a bit OP. I think it's a bit overpowered when you think about Bayern Munich and then Borussia Dortmund, and then there's not really other contenders these days. We see the demise of Hamburg. We don't really see much of Werder Bremen these days. Like again, don't get me wrong. There's gonna be some people coming in the comments being like, "Oh, what about this team? What about that team?" It's like, yeah, but like when we look at the Premier League, yeah, it's got we've got Leicester pushing, we've got Wolves pushing, not so much last year, but there's always that opportunity of having those teams like that. And then next season with the Serie A, like, there's teams just always there, like, Inter, AC coming on the back. We've got Roma, Lazio. Like, it's just always something happening.
Yeah, there's always, Serie A is interesting because there's always, potentially, I would say 8 teams almost every season that,
even the Premier League now.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, even I guess Italy was a bit of a weird scenario because Juventus were miles ahead for such a long period of time, but the next 7 teams were essentially fighting for that top 4 spot.
But you wouldn't say Roma and Lazio and Napoli are not top 4 squads. You get me? Like they go up and down, but then even below them, you've got teams like Atalanta now.
Yeah, correct. And there's always that for every year that you have it might be a good or a bad spell for those top 4 sides. There's always that team like Benevento that pops up, and they might finish just outside a place in Europe or in a place in Europe. I think the Bundesliga is really interesting because, there was a period of time where, like you said, Wolfsburg was strong, Werder Bremen was strong, Schalke was strong. There was so many, like Leverkusen. So I remember even players like Kiesling. Kiesling was going absolute beast mode in the Champions League. So these are, these clubs just seem to be almost like dropped by the wayside compared to the level that Bayern's able to maintain. And you see it, even early in the season. I think this year they sort of had a bit of a slow start and then just powered home. So it's they've definitely got a big gain on the rest of the league.
I think when we look at Spain as well, like we always think Barca, Real are the only two teams that will win it. Atletico did an amazing, they took it and they won the league. And then even below them, they got Villarreal, we got Valencia. There's, I think when you think about it, the Bundesliga at the moment is a bit unjust to the rest of the league. While even in France, like we've still got the opportunity of Marseille or Lyon, pushing boundaries there for them, but Lille coming through and winning that. Like, yeah, I think all the leagues are looking interesting at the moment. I feel like PSG signing players, old or young. I'm really excited to see them just push it. They're a young club. Everyone forgets how young PSG is compared to many of the other powerhouses. I just hope for the sake of leveling the multiverse and allowing this sort of thought of the norm that we all think of. I hope one day Real Madrid become the Galacticos again, like sort of overpowered, having all these signings, shirt sales, Beckham, that sort of, I just miss those two sort of teams having everyone, the El Clasico. I miss those days,
Yeah, I do agree. It's funny, right? Because it's almost that dilemma between having the same old, the same clubs winning the same titles, or the same few clubs winning the same few titles. But then having, the Leicesters win the league was crazy, right? So imagine if we could have every year a level playing field. Even, say for example, Leeds coming into the Premier League for the first time, them being a contender for the league, for the title. I think that would be amazing. But it gives every fan has hope. It's not just, I hope we finish top 8 or top 10 this year. It's, we can potentially win the league. Like, could you imagine just the hype around every game, knowing that you could potentially win the league?
Well, that was Leicester. When the season before they almost got dropped out, had an amazing saving sort of season at the end, and then they won the league the next year. That I just feel like that sort of only happens. A fairy tale football only happens once in every blue moon.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, I guess that's just the climate of football today, right? Like finances tend to run things and they have a massive influence on how the game's been unfolding.
I am excited to see Venezia in Serie A next season. I'd love to see Inter Milan play away at their beautiful stadium. I think the capacity is only 7,000 people allowed, so that's going to be interesting to see some football there.
Yeah, beautiful stadium. It is very, very cool, isn't it? I love that their seating setup, which is kind of like, it's set above the ground level, and then the seats kind of come outwards.
Yeah.
And then they've got that big clock tower or something, right?
Yeah, it's iconic. I'm really excited to see that. We've only got a few more minutes left in our chat. I think it's gone longer than 45 minutes right now. So to everyone watching, thank you so much for lasting this long. But should we do the kit episode now, or should we do another kit episode another day? I think there's a few more days of kits coming out. Should we just end it here and just leave it as
let's
is?
Call it here. Well, I know there's obviously a lot going to be coming out in the upcoming, the season's got a season ahead. So we've got there's going to be a lot of big releases coming up, especially the bigger clubs. I think there's a few third kits and fourth kits that they'll hang on to for probably early August, maybe even late August.
I think the PSG away kit's getting released in the next 10 minutes. I think there was rumors just now. Yeah, so we'll see that. But I was going to say, we should definitely do a reaction to our Premier League prediction from last season and maybe predict another one this year.
Yeah, that would be good. I think that's definitely something we have to do. I remember how far off I was on that one.
Yeah, I want to see what happened, and maybe predicting it now will be amazing too. Maybe we should just do every single league and have a quick overview.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to show? Any kits that you have that are ready to go?
Oh, I've got a lot here. Oh, there's too many to go, man. There's a lot going on. I think, there's this, actually, I've got one here that I can show you. We've got this jacket. This is coming up in the next couple of days. You might like this one. One for the United fans. Sorry, it's probably out of focus now. This is an absolute cracker. This is going to be online in the next few days.
Yeah, sick. I love that one. Nothing from mine, but lots of new episodes. I'm literally only 30 subscribers away from 1,000. So thank you so much to everyone that has subscribed. If you are going to dislike this button, well, thank you so much. I know exactly where you're from. As always, Paul, what's your sign off?
No, I don't have one as always. You know that.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe. Stay away from stupid people. And I'll see you again. Thank you and goodbye.
See you guys.
I haven't clicked the end button.